Thank you, Darren. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the North Center community and also the Northern Lights Community Center. I want to wish all the candidates here the best of luck. This is an important race. I'm glad that all of you showed up tonight. This is a great turnout. We were in Bismarck a week ago Sunday, and we had 175 people in the Grand Dakota Inn. And so that tells you that this is one of the most important elections in the history of our tribe. Now, I just want to acknowledge, first of all, my wife, Kara Curry. She's in the audience here in the hall. And also my daughter, Faith, is my campaign manager somewhere. If you see the posters, on the back of the poster says, "Yes, we can." And that was my 10-year-old daughter that thought of it. And so it's become a family campaign. We're having a little fun with it. Also, I want to thank the community board for hosting this Chairman's Campaign Forum. First of all, my name is Louis Kenneth Hall. I am the son of the late Billy Hall Jr., or Jake, or Sonny, as he was called when he was growing up, and Elson Dragsworth Hall. Her folks were Louis Dragsworth and also Alice Badger. So I come from a long line of chiefs on both sides of the family. Chief Dragsworth up to Chief Crowsfly High, and also Chief Forebears on the Mandan side, by Alice Badger. And on Grandpa Jim and Grandma Sarah, of course, we got Sheep Kids. It's just really a proud heritage that I'm very proud of. I want to mention also that I'm also alcohol and drug free. It's been 21 years. Thank you very much. Now, let's talk about real issues. My 10th day in office, in this particular community, we have multiple housing. And our community came to a standstill. We had scheduled a Thanksgiving dinner that was scheduled. It was right around that time. And what we did is that we couldn't sit back and do anything. We couldn't do nothing. That was the solution. We had to do something. So we called an action meeting. And the staff were on the phone for hours, 3 or 4 hours, burning up the phone lines, calling people from crisis intervention people to clinical psychologists to law enforcement, behavioral health people, counselors, and 45 professionals flocked to this community in just a matter of hours. And what they did is they went into the community, they went into the families, the schools, law enforcement, EMT people, to brief them, because everybody was in shock. And Dr. Twyla Baker was at the University of North Dakota going to school, and she said, "My heart is back home with the people." And then she wanted to do something. And so she called some of her professional people in the university there, and they came on their own dime and helped our community get through this critical time that we were in. And fast forward to a few months after that, we had a 72-hour armed standoff with a gun. And of those 72 hours, I was up for 57 of those 72 hours, getting text messages, calls with the local security and law enforcement. And we had to make a quick decision. And the 2 SWAT teams came. They said that the SWAT teams were out of options, that we had to do something. We had to take the house down because they put tear gas in there. So the house was unsalvageable. And we had to make a decision. And we called our local security guy. One of his brothers was working on duty. And he gave a 5-minute crash course to his other brother who was on duty. And in turn, they gave a 5-minute crash course to the SWAT team. And started taking the house down. They detained the gunman, and the saving grace was that there was no casualties. So I want to thank our local law enforcement, our security, all the partners from the HP to the Sheriff's Department, County Sheriff's Department, SWAT team, because there was no casualties. And I want to personally thank them for that. Now, we're talking about education. I think I'm a firm believer in education. We have a young gentleman from Harvard that graduated, Cesar Alvarez, and graduated from Harvard University with an internship at the legal department last summer. And we have research models on education trust funds. And he brought them to the education committee, which I chair, and also to the town council, so they looked at the models. And there's only one step left, and that's implementation. And that's one thing, when elected as the chairman, my first priority is to establish an education trust fund. I just had a nephew, there in Little Shell Powers, and he has $48,000 in loans, student loans. I have a niece she has $40,000 in loans that she's got to pay back. And we can go on with many family members that have a lot of outstanding loans. But we should be able to afford an education for every enrolled member of this tribe. That's the amount of revenue that we have. Because we have to invest in the future. Those are our future leaders, our future attorneys, our future chairmen, our future council members. We have to invest in the future. Healthcare is important. It's very important. We are engaging with Sanford Health on a possible MOU. And the whole concept is that rather than us referring people out to the physicians, those physicians can come here to the reservation. And that's the concept that Sanford Health is presenting us. And we are engaging in it, we are setting up meetings and to see how this MOU is going to look. Now, law enforcement, we talked about this. We have implemented a security department here. Also, I want to mention, it's a matter of principle for me. I don't own an oil company. I don't own a construction company. I don't own a business. I don't even drive a travel vehicle. I drive my own vehicle. I own my own house. It's a matter of principle for me. I donated the vehicle to the local security department. We've implemented Neighborhood Watch. We also are going to put money for 2 resource officers in our community this 2015 budget year, which Forebears Committee already has a model already. The Councilman Cruz's office, they have 2 resource officers. They carry the revenue just like a regular law officer. And so we also have beefed up our law enforcement. We prioritized our housing in phase 1 with 5 homes to law officers so they can recruit people and have a place to stay. Also, 5 homes were designated phase 2 of Alvin Woods housing. I believe that if we're going to declare war on drugs, then we have to be serious about declaring war. A young lady approached me when I ran for council here in this community and said, if you're elected, would you be willing to take a drug test? I said, in a heartbeat, I'll be the first one. And when I got elected in this position, I took the drug test and I passed, I'll have you know. And the rest of our staff did the drug test as well. Now, if we want to be serious about this, we know there's tribes that do hair follicles. You go back 90 days. If we're going to declare war on drugs, then we have to get real serious about these issues and have it across the board for every employee to be drug tested. Housing is a dire need. I want to thank Elgin Crowsrest for his leadership, the North Second Community Development Corporation. We just housed 20 families just a few months ago. Just behind us, there's another Wood Bull apartments going up. We'll take care of another 20 families in just a matter of weeks. So in less than 2 years, we'll take care of 40 families where they can have a place to call home. One of the stories is a single mother was staying in the basement with her family. And now she has an apartment she can call home. An elderly lady was on the list for 21 years, waiting for a place to stay, to call home. Now she has a place to call home after 21 years. Those are the kind of stories we need to hear daily. Success stories. When we talk about the environment, it's the most important thing, as we all know, as Indian people. We're stewards of the land. We're tied to the land. We can't skirt away from it. We have to use technology to get ahead of this game. Right now, we're just reacting to everything. The state of North Dakota is reacting to everything. And so as a nation, we're just in reaction mode. So we have to use technology. We implemented a pilot project with truck traffic monitoring and had data, and we showed the council on the truck traffic monitoring. If that monitoring system was in place, the Moccasin Creek spill, we'd have had it in real time. Who spilled it, what they spilled, who the company was, what their license plates was. We'd have found who that was. But today we still don't know. So you have to use technology to get ahead of this game. Now, the transition report that Chairman Hall implemented 4 years ago, it really exposes how weak our Constitution is. Because of the sweetheart deals. We all know that a lot of the articles that we read come from the Tulsa World or Spokane, Washington. Not even our local papers. I ran on transparency, accountability, responsibility, and vision. We should be transparent. All the millions of dollars coming in, you have a right to know where every penny is going. That's true transparency. We implemented transparency in this community with having town hall meetings, with having a monthly newsletter, a Facebook page, a Twitter page, and updates on YouTube. Updates on YouTube where people in Connecticut or Oregon or California can know exactly what's going on back here at the tribe. What the Crow Nation does is they YouTube their council meetings. That's transparency. You know who votes? You know who makes a second? That's transparency. Now, let's go back a few years ago. We're playing catch-up. What was the rush? In the previous administration, what was the rush? Did we have our laws and codes in place that was going to handle this onslaught, which some people call us tsunami hills? We were prepared. Who negotiated the first tax agreement? We know that was not on a level playing field. This is when I first got in 2012, Bill 1234 to change the tax agreement terms guide. So they had to attach it to Bill 1198. But what the game changer was when the council showed up. When the council showed up, they said, we said, we're the government. We're the government. That was the game changer. One legislator said in all his years of being a state legislator, he said, I've never had this happen before. I get a call at 7 o'clock in the morning. A council representative of 3 village tribes wants to meet me. 10 minutes later, a company from Marathon called. 10 minutes later, a company from Petro Hunt called. He's on the floor and saying, this is not perfect, but it's an improvement. And I want to have you guys vote for this. When they got ready to vote, in the House, 80 votes in the House to change the agreement of the tax agreement. Change the terms of it. Now it's 50-50 across the board. And what does that mean in dollars? $400 to $500 million in the next 3 years. It wasn't about the council, it was about you, the people. It was about you, the people. We seen it to the end. We were determined to make the change because it was not on a level playing field. I appreciate your time. I ask for your vote September 16th.